Okay, so welcome you all. Welcome to Bahujan Scholar First Gen series. My name is Bharat Rathod. I am the founder and president of Bahujan Scholar. Bahujan Scholar is a non-profit registered in US. Bahujan Scholar is a network of graduate students, faculty, professionals outside India. The purpose of this network is to support scholars from Bahujan communities, building networks, mentoring, group and one-on-one mentoring, and organize online events like this one on academic and professional development topics. All our webinars are posted on our Bahujan Scholar YouTube channel. And for more information about our program and work, please visit at bahujanscholar.org. And I'm also posting a link for your feedback. So please, whenever you have time, please give us your feedback so we can improve our programs and organize different kind of webinar series. And today we have a moderator, my dear friend Maulik. So please, Maulik, from here now, please take it over. Thank you, Maulik.
Okay, thank you so much, Bharat, for giving me this opportunity to moderate this session. So in today's session, we have like two speakers, and it's like the so I'll give a brief introduction to both the scholars, and then they will talk about their experiences for around 15 to 20 minutes, and then we'll open for like Q&A. And so, yeah, we have Saddaf Javed. Saddaf Javed is a visiting assistant professor in environmental studies and geography at Bucknell University, Pennsylvania. She completed her PhD from Department of Geography, Rutgers University, New Jersey. Her research examines agrarian change, environmental governance, and climate adaptation in the Himalayan region of Uttarakhand, India, with a focus on organic agriculture and rural livelihoods. Drawing on political ecology and ethnographic fieldwork, her work explores how environmental policies intersect with social inequalities and reshape small farmers' experiences of ecological and economic change. So, welcome, Sadaf, to Bahujan Scholars. Our second speaker is Jay Sharma. Jay is an incoming postdoc fellow at Center for the Advanced Studies of India, University of Pennsylvania. He received his PhD in anthropology from Syracuse University and currently teaches at Bucknell University. His research examines bureaucracy, extractive development, tribe, caste, and unequal citizenship among Ho Adivasi in eastern India. So yeah, without further ado, we'll start our session. So each speaker, I already said that each speaker has like 15 to 20 minutes and then followed by Q&A. So yeah, we'll start with Sadaf. Yeah.
Okay, hi Maulik. Thank you so much for the introduction, and also thank you, Bharat, for this opportunity. I think it really is important to have a platform where we can share our experiences, especially with young students, folks who are thinking or planning a career in higher ed or academia in general. So a little bit about me. So my name is Saddaf Javeed. Like Maulik said, I'm a visiting assistant professor at Bucknell. I joined Bucknell last year, right after I finished my PhD in geography at Rutgers. By training, I'm an interdisciplinary scholar, so I've done a bunch of things in life basically. Academic training has been through in different fields. So I did a master's in environmental studies, and then I did a MPhil in STS or science policy, and then I did my graduate studies in geography basically. So before coming to the US, I did my master's and MPhil from JNU, New Delhi. I worked after that for a bit. I worked with Center for Policy Studies and Observer Research Foundation, ORF, in Delhi. And then eventually I made the transition to go to grad school, basically. Uh, Also, I come from a small town in India. I originally am from Uttarakhand, India. I grew up in a place called Almora, which is a small hill station. I mean, it's not very small anymore, but at least when I was growing up, it was pretty small. But then I then moved to Delhi, and then eventually I came here. So it's been a journey, I would say. A lot. I have learned a lot. I have unlearned a lot. And I think each institution where I was during my education really kind of shaped me, who I am as a person, as a scholar. And yeah. In terms of my experience in the US, I would say it was initially it was exciting, but also it was full of hardships as well. It was a lot of anxiety. It was also challenging, I would say. I remember clearly, like when I was coming to the US, I was very excited to explore a new place. I mean, I was of course also coming to the US for the first time, so I had no exposure, no understanding how life is going to be, to the point that I didn't even know which universities in which state, and which like how these states are located in which side of the US, those kind of things. But then when I came here eventually, I think initial few weeks were exciting. I was in awe. I was excited. I was kind of like just grasping everything that was happening around me. But it was also like nerve-wracking, I would say, in a way. It was also overwhelming. It was also stressful because there's a big cultural shift that happens. And I had no one here except some friends or like acquaintances essentially. So trying to figure out everything by yourself, to the point that I think my first semester was pretty stressful, to the point there were moments when I would be like, if I have done if I have taken the right decision to even do grad school, like coming to the US for that matter. But I think over the time you start getting a hang of it, you start understanding things, you start making a small group of friends you can rely on, you start reaching out to people, you start to understand how people, things, academia generally, classroom dynamics, your relationship with your professors, all of that kind of, works. And then you slowly settle in. And I think over the time, I, of course, learned a lot, got adjusted, and then had a really smooth end of my graduate school. And then I eventually started this job. So it's been an interesting journey, I would say, both ups and downs. And it would seem like from outside that it's all, good, it's a bed of roses and everything. But grad school generally, and also like for a first gen scholar, coming from a minority group in India, having very less exposure and resources. It was also a journey that was uh, tolling in so many ways, emotionally, financially, I would say, even. But I think over the time, I kind of like adjusted, pulled myself together, and finished PhD. I think that was the biggest thing that I really wanted to do at some point, that I wanted to like finish it. And yeah, but yes, of course, also there were people that really kind of made this journey possible. So I was fortunate to have like good mentors, good supervisors, good committee members, friends, uh, who kind of really like made this possible for me. So I think one thing that's what I would like to like also talk about today is the value of networking and reaching out to people, because in this place a lot of people are like alone. So you really need to like put that kind of effort in order to make those connections. And probably only then you will be able to like sail through. So yes, reach out, talk to people, and make connections, share your experiences, because sometimes you would think that only probably this is only happening to me, this XYZ thing. But then you would like start talking and you would realize that no, there are other people who are also probably struggling or living with it. And that would kind of give you some strength, some perspective. So yeah, so that's a little bit about me. Yeah, thank you.
And we have Jay Sharma. Over to Jay.
Thank you, Maulik, and thank you, Bharat, for organizing this. And I'm happy to be here, and I'm really glad that we are having this kind of conversation, especially when I look back like 10 years ago, when I just had started, and decided to apply for a doctoral program, and then I had no idea and where to apply, which university, which region, state, as Sada pointed out very uh, poignantly. And so this sense of cluelessness is something that lingers on for a while, as in even after once you get into a PhD program, while you're doing your coursework, when you're trying to fit in to this academic space, and it's not just classroom. And that's the most crucial and important part. It's not just the classroom, but what happens beyond classroom, as in when you with your peers and friends, and whether you're in a conference, attending talks or giving talk, or whether you are with your colleagues. So, uh, as in, especially for those like who are first generation college students, as in that's what I experienced, and we can talk more about it like during Q&A. That there's this constant sort of like uh, thing on your mind going on, that you want to fit in into these every spaces, and in order to fit in, you have to be in a certain way. You have to carry yourself in a certain way. You have to speak. You have to articulate certain ideas in certain manner. Your pronunciation, uh, the kind of word you choose while speaking. So you become too conscious. Uh, and I still remember like when I had just started, my coursework in the US, and I would have my classmates. I didn't, four of them were from US, and one of them from India, and they were all like better in articulation, and of course like in English, because it was their native tongue. I grew up in Bihar until my like finished my schooling, and then moved to Delhi for my undergrad at JNU, and then later on TIS for my master's. And I had exposure, I'm not denying that, but they were much better. That's what I perceived, and that's where I started with. And then every time I had to make a point, every time I had to say something on certain topic, I would hold myself back, thinking that, oh, I am not good enough, or the way I will speak uh, won't fit into this sort of like academic way of, articulating yourself. And that was the most damaging thing that I ever did to myself. And it's not just not being able to participate in the classroom, it sort of like it's like a domino effect. It's like a chain reaction. So you hold yourself back in the classroom, then you do the same thing when you're hanging out with your colleagues, your peer, your classmates, and there's a sense of inferiority that builds on day after day after day. Um, so I would say at the get-go is first thing you should do is give yourself some importance, not some, but a lot of importance. You are here because you deserve it, and you bring in some perspective that is so dear to these people. That's why they have invited you to be here and be part of this academic sort of like space. So whatever you bring in, like in whatever way you want to articulate or say, just say it. Don't think twice about it. Be careful, like what are you saying, how are you framing, that's all. But don't overthink that you're not capable enough to be part of this academic space, because your perspective is unique. Your perspective is something that is irreplaceable. And especially if you come from as an uh, marginalized background, or come from a background where people did not have the social and cultural capital and also economic capital to be able to come to these spaces. So give yourself a lot of importance, then be confident, believe in yourself. And the other important aspect is making friends when you are part of this academic space, and be careful, like look out for people like who might have similar experience to you, who might have similar maybe background, or uh, because then getting to know those people, sharing experiences helps a lot. And I'm also glad because at this moment when I came to know about this network, Bahujan Scholars Network, and Bharat told me about this, I was so happy, and I wished that we had something like this back in 2016 when I was applying, or throughout my PhD journey when I had a lot of questions. I had a lot of sort of like, as in inhibitions, and I felt intimidated. I felt doubts about whether I should continue with this journey or not, because you do not belong, right? And you are also made to believe the fact that, like, since especially if you're first generation, you come from a background, social economic background that is thought of not capable enough to be in academic space, you always have this feeling. But that feeling is, I think, as in I've spoken to people from across the board, like, who are not from South Asia, who are from first world, who are, native of like America, not native Indians, but who are from here. So they have a similar kind of, as in thought, and they go through the same kind of process, that having this kind of doubt. What is unique with us is like we come from a society where we already are made to think that we do not deserve this or we are not capable of this. So that is why it becomes more important to come out and sort of like, and be part of this kind of network, and also contribute by bringing in your perspective. So yes, and give important to yourself, whether you're in an academic space or non-academic space when you're in the US. Uh, Third, I would say again, like when it comes to language or proficiency, or like being enough polished or refined when you're trying to say something, uh, don't overthink. Just express your ideas, your thoughts, opinions fearlessly in the whatever academic space you are in. And the its PhD journey has been full of failures for me. And that's a very subjective and personal experience. But why I'm bringing that out is, uh, if I say that, like, it's very sort of like it's an ordeal experience, it's an ordeal to like pursue PhD and finish it. It's You have to really go through a lot of struggle. The reason is you have to come across a lot of failures. So when you come across those failures, don't think that you're not good enough again. You have to keep trying. And because again, like, this is the same kind of psychological uh, as in trap that you might get caught in, and might as in also decide to withdraw. But the thing is, like, try to learn something from whatever you have failed in, and then work on it and move on. So yeah, these are some of the things. I would keep it brief and short, and then we might talk more about it in detail in the Q&A, because again, like, person might have a different perspective and experience, and then set of questions. So yeah, that was my two bits on sort of like my experience in academia. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Saddaf and Jay. You both like talked about, and especially this how you both survive in academia, and you're still like pursuing and this like you said, like make friends. And so from there, and I'm also like struggling a lot while doing my PhD, and so I needed like your advice as a mentors, that how to trust your oppressors, like how to, like, I want to make friends, but how to make friends who are coming from like dominant caste, and they are in the campus, and sometimes they also works on like the like caste. And I was like, wait, you were like doing and developing the discourse which is like developed by anti-caste movement, or like Bahujan scholar, like scholars of Bahujan movement. So yeah, sometimes I like struggle a lot to make friends in a way that so yeah, how to trust your oppressors. And yeah, it would be like dominant caste person, or even like in terms of a person who is coming from a dominant gender or race maybe. So yeah, so what you did, like what your strategies for that, or what's your suggestions? It's
So
for
if you
both,
want to
yeah.
go, sorry.
Mhm.
Jay, you can
So
go
if
if
you
you
want,
want to. Yeah.
no, you go ahead, and
I'm
then I
just
will.
trying to collect my thoughts, but like I think generally I would say like, yeah, I mean friendship is I think still like a stage that happens. First you get to know someone, you realize there are some kind of commonalities, there are some things that you both agree on, you share some kind of values. And only then, like, you start trusting in each other, and then you become friends. Of course, it is difficult, definitely, but I think within like the larger section that we have in the US in academia, it's mostly like upper caste, upper class folks, right? And coming from different regions of India. So sometimes you would not have an option, but then within that group, you would find people, I think, who would like, have similar ideas on certain aspects of things. And I think that's where you take it from eventually. And then again, it's a process. It takes time. You get to know people, you get to understand their politics, where they come from. And in fact, over the time, if you feel like you have built a good relationship, you would even call out, you would even point out to things that they are, wrong at, for instance. And it's the same for you. You would also learn from their experience, like how do they think about the others, right? Or how do they think about different kind of other world ideas, for instance. So I think so it's not like this one-on-one friendship. I think it's more like it's complex, it's convoluted, it's full of struggle, I would say. But then over the time, you would recognize at least maybe one or two people who would be there with you in, so who would share similar ideas, similar values, I would say, and will become your, like, your friends, or your like good acquaintances that you can like probably trust a little bit. So there's like no, I think, no straightaway answer to it. It's a process. You learn, you fail also by the time. I have experienced it. I have had at least a bunch of experiences where I made friends with people, and then over the time I realized they were friends with me because of certain things, because I was probably able to check some things from that log, where maybe I was more articulative, maybe I was coming from a certain place, maybe XYZ, those factors, but they were not really like friends with me because of my politics. And that was a really like a bad setback for me. But I also kind of learned to like make friends eventually, like how to recognize people, how to understand their politics. And then also in that process, I also like, kind of learned a lot about myself, like what matters to me and what values are important to me, and how do I want like my friendships to go, what kind of friends I'm looking for, those kind of things. So I think it's both ways, and it takes time. So I think it takes time, and it's never going to be easy. It's going to be like, it's going to be difficult, but then I think slowly you would find people among this big bunch of group that you have already. And yeah, so I think that's how I would maybe think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, as in I would agree with Saddaf, and just would like to, as in add few couple of points. It's a very sort of like tricky question. Again, it's because of like it's intimacy that we are talking about. But again, like it has a very socio-political dynamics attached to it. And I'll start with this anecdote that when I started, I was the last student of my advisor. She retired right like couple of years after I was into the program. And we were having this conversation, and then, oh no, I was defending my proposal when I had to set out for the fieldwork. And then one of my committee members, who is not from South Asia, asked about my positionality, that as in you're going to study Adivasis and how you're going to like navigate that given your personality. And then I had to bring up my identity, my caste, and talk about like, as in my relative positionality, and how I'm going to navigate. And then my advisor was surprised, and she was like, "Oh, you are my first student." And she had a long career of 60 years teaching at Syracuse. And I was the first student who was not from upper caste. And again, like towards her age of retirement, as in I am the last student now. She's retired already, and that is something that also made me think that why I feel isolated at some points in this space. Why I do not find a space where I can be myself, talk about things that I concern me, as in that are closely related to my identity. And and I think a lot of students, and it's a very pretty valid, important question to ask whom you should make your friend. And as Sada pointed out, like it takes time to get to know people. So I would say like one should be careful, and one should be mindful of, again, like it's a heightened political situation we are living in right now in the world, and we should we should be careful in sort of like getting or developing any kind of intimacy. Uh, but again, it's very important at the same point of time to reach out. And I would say like, as in uh, we are familiar with this fact that like again there has been this power dynamics for centuries in India, and how come one can believe someone. But the thing is like at the end of the day we are humans, and we have crossed those lines, and regardless of our identity, so we'll have to take that risk, I guess. And but the thing is like it's very important to sort of like have a kind of community, and not, for instance, not necessarily from India, as in I had my and still have my close friends from Pakistan, not India, and or from Bangladesh. So there are those sort of like dynamics that you might feel more comfortable sort of like sharing things with them, because there is a certain kind of baggage that you carry when you come from Indian society. So yeah, as in I would say, just be careful.
Yeah, Bharat, you have like raise your hand. You can go
Yeah, I would like to add few things because I've been here in States for 15 years and I work a lot with so many so-called privileged communities from South Asia. So as per my experience, I would just say a couple of points. Number one, the trust is a kind of a process. It takes time, right? You cannot build immediately. Yes, coming from a marginalized background or marginalized community, we have those doubts and suspicion about other people's intention and their work, definitely. But I would say, based on my own experience, and that when you work particularly on anti-caste work, or as Saddam mentioned about the politics, when we are aware about the politics and anti-caste ideas, that would be kind of a roadmap, or you can say the beginning point, to build the relation. And I work a lot with so-called privileged background people, and I found so many people are committed. Yes, there are gray area because I mean some of the stuff probably they are not aware about, and some of the stuff we are not aware about. So we have to give the space about the gray area. Is about the gray area is kind of a development area for us and for them also to grow together. But as long as their certain ideas are very clear about anti-caste work or larger liberal progressive politics, I think that's a good way or good starting point to work together. If you Because I have seen so many young people, those who are trying to find perfect person or perfect anti-caste work or anti-caste activist or person from so-called privileged background. And I said, no, you're not going to find that because your mental doubts always comes up, and you will try to find that okay, this is not right. Oh, they use this word. Oh, this they use this sentence. Oh, their behavior is like that, kind of so on. So please don't go into that small petty things. Just see the larger things in terms of their politics and how committedly they are engaged with the anti-caste work. Again, I'm bringing my experience anti-caste work on this campus, so I have been leading the anti-caste campaign over the last 4 years. And let me tell you honestly, except me, there are other also people or students and community member from so-called underprivileged background, or you can say a marginalized background, but they are not active. But mostly from the privileged background, they are engaged and committedly engaged. Yes, there are gray area. Again and again, I'm saying, but please do not focus on gray area. Otherwise, you never able to build any kind of alliance or a team to work on anti-caste work here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like Bharat also like added to this conversation. I'm also like thinking about like sometimes like in during the like academics, and like when I'm in my PhD, and like some particular incidents happen, such as like the encampment happened. We were discussing about that in the campus, and like war or like some particular policies came up, like this ICE thing is like right now is very much in like conversation. So at that time, like how to react, like, or what kind of like experiences you have faced during your PhD and right now in your teaching process, and what you do to like survive, or what were your strategies about it?
Yeah, I think as a grad student and even now as a faculty member, these are like things like impact, even if it is like, talking about like war or like pushing back against policies that are anti-immigrant or anti-marginalized communities, or anything that kind of like shows my solidarity extended to like marginalized folks. I always believed in it and I still believe it, I think. And but over the time, I would also say like, political climate has changed. So when I came to the US, that was Trump era one. Then we had the Biden era, and now we are back in the Trump era too, right? So I've also like faced things firsthand, in the sense when I came to the US during Trump first era, for instance, that was the time when Muslim ban was going on, and I was stopped at the airport at the immigrations. I had like first-hand experience with Homeland Security. I had everything in proper shape and everything. Like everything was legal. I had all the paperwork, but still, like I was scrutinized. It was a really bad experience that I had. But then, like, I mean, of course, not like kind of diluting that experience in the sense that, oh, it's okay, it's fine. No, it really kind of in fact impacted me in the long run. I still like have a lot of anxiety when it comes to anything to do with like bureaucracy, paperwork, or government for that matter, when it comes to like, doing things in the US. But I realized like how like, oppressive the system is, the regime is, but also like how you navigate, how you push back. And as a social scientist, I think it's really important that we understand patterns, we look at them, we recognize them, and then do our tiny little bit in any way possible. So I think as a graduate student, I was definitely like very interested, and I was always like part of anything where we needed support. We wanted to extend solidarities again, any kind of like, oppression that was taking place. And even now, when I'm teaching in my classrooms, I'm very careful with these things. I really teach my students that if you cannot do anything at a personal level, at least extend solidarity. That's at least what you can do, right? Be on the right side of the history. And especially in terms of like how you navigate these times as international student, that's also very important, because we should not like romanticize these ideas, because we have, especially like right now in Trump era too, there are legal repercussions for like, participating in things which are like said to be anti-government or something. So yeah, you have to be careful. I think you need to be in networks where there are people watching out for you. You need to also be aware. You need to be legally educated also. I think those are important things. And also, I would not say like don't participate, but just be careful. Like don't like put yourself in a situation where it would like really turn out to be a disaster for you, because again sometimes you would be like, you're alone in this. But again, that shouldn't like stop you in participating or like being political. That's important, but again, I think it comes in different shapes and sizes, so it kind of depends on you, what you can do, what's possible for you. So do that. And so there is, again, I think there is no like clear-cut answer to it, but it kind of depends on who you are, how much you can take, how much you can push, and it all narrows down to that. But again, yeah, be careful, be aware. I would say be well connected, and like yeah, mostly that I would say, yeah. But yeah, like definitely, like this is an important moment, and I think as young people, we need to participate, and we need to do our tiny little bit, what in whatever capacity we can, and we should. But we need to be careful. I think that's what I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Sadaf covered it pretty much in whatever he wanted to say. And yeah, there's nothing new to add to, but just wanted to highlight that, like, as in, if you really are against certain things, as in it happens at two levels. One is that like you're thinking in your mind, you're aware politically that something wrong is going on, and then you can participate actively in certain event or activity that would demonstrate that, like, something unjust or wrong is going on. Given that legally it's pretty much complex right now, and that might put us on a lot of risk. So I think if even if you are aware that something is wrong, uh, and you do not agree, or you do not sort of like, or not a party to this thing happening, as in this particular context and situation, I think that should suffice, because again, legally you are not even a subject, or as in an individual, as in subject in the sense like, uh, the subjecthood you would have back in India being a citizen. So you were not identified at the first instance only. So there is no question of you being an actor in sort of like, or actively participating in certain things. We as educator, what we do is like the other way for us to channel those thoughts and ideas is in the classroom. So because it's a safe space where we can, as an instructor or teacher, speak our mind again, like carefully. Now in these circumstances, that has also becoming sort of like difficult. And also in your like own space of your comrades or friends, or as in this network, for instance, you might have a group of friends there. You can talk about it, you can discuss it, and yeah, as Saddaf pointed out, like we are contributing in small little ways, not directly, not now, but as in future, when we would have opportunity to do something, we will definitely do it. So uh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's like now I'm just opening for the like floor for Q&A. If like anybody has like any questions, you can ask. But yeah, try to make it like brief and to the point, because we have speakers invited for the lectures. So, and yeah, I'm also putting a link for the feedback on the chat. So yeah, please like submit your feedback. It is like helpful to understand or like to make another like events. So yeah, anybody has a question, you can raise your hand. Yeah,
Well,
yeah, Rajesh, you can go ahead. Yeah.
so Jay and Sadaf, I think you talked about your PhD experience and how to navigate that space. But could you speak a little bit more about job search experiences, and have you ever been to places where department chair is upper caste and or maybe religious extremist or maybe Hindu extremist or something like that along those lines? So have you faced any of those subjectivity in that process? I just wanted to kind of know.
As in, I haven't experienced any overt uh, incident, or um,
Maybe in general, you can talk about your job search experience because some of these people might be graduating
yeah,
from universities, and then how does it work in the US?
yeah.
And then in that process, if you think that how to safely navigate that path.
So, as in, it's really difficult to again um comment on this, because even if they're happening very discreetly. So, and as in, but one thing I would add in terms of job search is, again, you, even after spending so many years in the US and then looking up for a job, becomes the same kind, or similar kind of, not same, but similar kind of experience that I had when I was looking for universities or mentors to work on my PhD or getting into a PhD program. So you feel like you are alone in this, and again, the same kind of thoughts overpower you that you are not made for it, because again, like you, and job market has been really bad for last couple of years, and it's not easy to land on a job. And when you don't, then again, like you start like having doubts. So again, reaching out to people, having this kind of network is very crucial, where you are sort of like you find some kind of mentorship, because as in those kind of forces will be there like all the time. We are not going to sort of like get rid of them, as in as in racism and casteism and religious fundamentalism, and sort of like, so though those things will be there, but the thing is like we also have to be strategic in the ways in which we can find a way out, or we can find a way around to sort of like get into these spaces, and also sort of like try to as in um, have our presence felt and have our voices heard. So I think, yeah, I'm not that. Uh, so I won't be useful in this context. Maybe Sadaf might have some experience she would like to add.
Yeah, no, I think I would also like kind of like say the similar thing. Like I don't really have like a one personal experience around this question particularly, but yeah, again, like you said, like Jay said, basically job like job search is also a process. Again, it takes time, you get better slowly, your applications even get better slowly, but then you also realize, like, you exist in the larger realm of politics. For instance, like when I was applying last year, DEI suddenly became a bad word, right? A lot of institutions were like focusing on policies that would kind of dilute DEI, or like, for instance, like you would want to write about DEI in your applications, like who you are, your positionality, how that informs your scholarships and all of that. But then you would also realize that, you're also applying for jobs in the larger environment, where suddenly coming from a certain gender, something from a certain caste, class, race, for instance, has become difficult for that matter, right? And sometimes it would reflect during the job application screenings and search, eventually, all of those things. But again, you are like, these things are not in your control. So you really can't do anything about it. But so yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, there is, I mean, on my personal level, like I haven't like really come across anything which was outrightly like discriminatory against me during my job experience. But then I also like understand how larger politics kind of shapes like job applications, job searches, who they want to be in a certain position, and what kind of jobs are even coming up. Those kind of things happen. But also, as a candidate, really, you do not have a lot in position, or like in power, basically. But then over the time, you also start to like realize a little bit like how to like kind of structure an application in a certain way, what to highlight, what to not highlight, those kind of things. And again, that's a process. I think there's no like one right, like performer to like share. It's a process. Again, you apply for to 10 places, and then you started to realize, yeah, this is how I need to structure my application, that it will eventually probably be a good fit. So yeah, so I think that's how I would like to respond to this question. Yeah.
Thank you. I think we have a very connected question in the chat, in case Maulik has looked at it.
Oh, yeah.
How to navigate
So,
the
yeah, there is a
conflict
question in the chat. I'm
of
just going to read out loud.
anti-caste research.
If, yeah, and it can share how to navigate the opportunities, particularly of postdoc in anti-caste research.
I think
Jay,
Yeah.
do you want to
Yeah.
like go with that, because you are like doing a postdoc now, so that, yeah, that would.
yeah, so I think there are a couple of postdocs in the United States that are particularly dedicated for research on caste. For instance, there is one at Vanderbilt. Sorry,
Brandeis.
Brandeis.
Yeah.
So yeah, at Brandeis, and then there's one at Chicago,
Hmm.
CASOS, CASOS. that is particularly specifically on caste, the Chicago one. And there might be some postdocs, I'll have to look it up, where they particularly want you to focus on issues that deal with marginalized social groups or communities. It could be on race, as in it's the area theme is open, area is open. It could be on caste, race, Native Americans, and the indigeneity in the US context. So definitely the two postdoc that I mentioned, but you should also look for those where they want you to engage with question of justice, marginalization, and inequality. And yeah, any further questions? Maybe regarding the application process or something.
I think you can add to that, like how did you craft your application?
So
You get it reviewed.
yeah, so when it comes to like thinking about what should go in the research statement or your statement of purpose. So you should bring in sort of like your own, as an if that could be relevant to the proposal, your own sort of like experiences and uh, your own perspective, and provide it some kind of uniqueness, that what is it that you're like bringing new to this area. And of course, like this, the other things are already there, like there are a number of sort of like articles and books that would guide you to like how to, as in prepare your application materials. And um, oh, there is one book I think you might have been already familiar. The professor is in. That's quite useful for developing your cover letter, research statement, or refining your CV. So that is useful. But yeah, as in rest of it would be pretty subjective. Where you're applying, what are they looking for? As in you can only try to a certain extent to polish it or refine it, because at the end of the day, what the reviewers and committee members are looking for matters. So yeah, that should be all from my side.
Would you spell the author's name of the book?
Yeah, I'm just going to put
Can you
it in
spell the
the
author and the book name?
I'm going to put
Can you
it in
Yeah,
the
spell the author
chat.
name
Yeah.
and the book?
Yeah, that's the name of the book. The Professor is In by Karen Kelsky. It's in the chat. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah.
yeah. And also there is AI. So I know like we use AI like for certain like for maybe different purposes, but when it comes to working with AI for your research proposal or any kind of application material, don't over rely on AI.
Hmm.
Treat it as some like as an editor, like you have written something and you want a feedback, so that should also reflect in your sort of like prompts that this is my piece of writing, keep it original, just give me feedback that is the structure coherent, the chain of arguments that I'm making, is that well connected and making sense. So don't use it for like, then straight away like write a cover letter or write a research statement, but rather use it very sort of like smartly, that and give me feedback, critical feedback. And is there flow? Is it sort of like coherent? Whether the points, the dots I'm connecting, it's making sense. So those kind of help, of course, you can take from AI, but keep the writing original. Like keep it your own, like follow your own style, your own voice and tone. Because again, like when you will be appearing for the interview, it might reflect that whether you have written it or not. So keep it original, like your own voice and tone, but use other things just for refining and polishing it.
Oh, yeah. We have one more question in the chat. Rashmi is asking. It's also about a postdoc. At what stage of PhD a scholar should apply for postdoc? After pre-submission or after completing PhD? And the other one is like, what are the key things which should be considered while applying for the postdoc?
Mhm.
Hmm.
So I think you should start applying for a postdoc, I think pre-submission. So like in your last year when you have a good chunk of your dissertation ready almost, so that if you get a postdoc, you would like quickly finish and then like, transition into this new position basically. But then sometimes you would not get it. So then of course keep applying after PhD as well, right? And some postdocs are also like, they would prefer someone who has done their PhDs. So they would take them. Some postdocs are also like, they would look at the application, look at the candidate. If it feels like they are ready for this next phase of research or like whatever they want to do, they would take them. So it's again, there is like no clear-cut answer, but I would say like, yeah, as soon as you are done with like, I would say like 60-70% of your dissertation draft, start applying and keep applying even after you graduate. And sometimes also, certain postdocs are project based, for instance, right? There is a project which is being funded by an external agency. There is somebody both in social sciences, I think it happens in sciences also, they are looking for specific people like who could work on this project. So that again is a great postdoc opportunity because if you have those skill sets, if your area of interest really kind of matches with this project detail position basically, then there is a fair chance. And again, doesn't really matter which stage of PhD you are in. If you're almost finishing, they would still take you, and if you are done, that's again a great thing. So yeah, I mean, that's at least that's how I think about it. What are the key things which should be considered while? Yeah, again, I think making your research relevant. Uh, what are the outcomes? And making sure that if it's like, what kind of public engagement you are going to do with this kind of research that you have produced, what are your like, larger goals, what kind of journals, like what kind of articles you want to like publish, those kind of things. So ideas, I think people look at the kind of clarity in their applications. That's really important, that your research project is well defined. You have these, you had these goals that you achieved during this research, and now these are the next two, three things that you want to pursue. So I think within this whole thing, the most important thing that people look at or like reviewers look at is the clarity of the candidate, that how well they do know their research, what are the outcomes, and how they want to like eventually pursue it or like convert it into something else. And overall also like how this research fits into like larger, debates, discussions, things that are happening. So yeah, so those kind of things are important. Yeah. Jay, you want to add something to that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think you pretty much covered everything. I would only like to add, like, this is something that I came to realize later on, that when we emphasize the fact that, like, you should, as in when you are visiting any conference or workshop, like, you should do networking and try to get in, like, widen your sort of like network pool. One thing that you can benefit from that is to ask them that, like, and be sort of like shameless a little bit in that you're applying for postdocs or jobs, like you would like to have them quickly look at your application and give feedback. So if you are reaching out to people who are working on your area, and they give feedback on your application, it will be really helpful to further improving it. So, like, strategize your, and networking and things like that. And then whenever you go to a conference, just try to reach out people, like, and like, and sort of like casually, informally have some kind of commitments from them that, like, oh, you will share your application material, and they might give a quick feedback. So that is really useful. Uh, and again, yeah, as Sada pointed out, like, you should have, as in, the clarity and articulation of your research is one thing, but what are you doing with that research is another, like the outcome. So you should demonstrate that, like, oh, I already have published and I'm publishing. If you are publishing, what are you publishing? Like, so just using one or two sentences, say that, like, I am thinking about this article based on this that comes from my research, and I will, even though you haven't decided which journal article you're going to submit it to, just like try to think that which article, journal it would fit into, and then mention it that I'm going to submit it to ABC journal, uh, and then and also speak about like what I'm going to do next, as in after this article, maybe like pitch another article that you'll be working on next. And another important thing is every postdoctoral position is unique in certain ways or certain sense. So they want you to do certain, like they want you to produce certain outcomes when you are doing the uh, fellowship. So look out for, carefully go through their website, look out for their uh, postdoc that who have already sort of like were there and they have come out of it, and then you might also would like to reach out to them and ask how was their experience, what did they do, what is the expectation of the institution from the fellows. So get to know about those things and include that in your application. That will be really helpful. So I myself, like as in I before I got through this fellowship, I visited the institute back in 2024. I interacted with one of the fellows. I also asked her to share her proposal, and that was also helpful in preparing mine. I also got in touch with few faculties who are part of the institution. So it also demonstrates that you actively are interested and have been pursuing sort of like this position. So these small little things, besides, of course, like preparing your or refining your application material. So,
Mm. Yeah, we have one more question in the chat about the postdoc. Like, is it compulsory for it to be an extension of PhD research, or it can something new, not related to the PhD work? And I also want to add with this question, like to both of you, that how your positionality like shapes your research, your academics. So, like, what you do, like, do you do like certain kind of practices which is you develop by yourself in the academics, or yeah?
some of you
I
want to
think it can,
correct.
yeah, I mean, it can be an extension of your PhD, like maybe one of the research questions that you had in your PhD and you want to further explore it because that's something that you are really interested in that could really turn out into a nice small little project that's also like achievable in like 2 years, for instance, because usually postdocs are like 2 years, right? But it can also be sometimes something new. But then if it's something new that you're proposing in a project proposal, it should then that like then the application should demonstrate that you have a good clarity, you have a good hold on like what you are proposing as a new project, right? So because that's where they are going to evaluate it, like how well you know this new topic that you are proposing, and also like if you could connect it back to the previous research, the previous training experiences that you have in some ways, how that kind of informs this new research that you are proposing, right? So there should be some kind of connection. But yeah, I mean, totally, like you can propose something that's new, but also you can continue and like basically take out one thread or one vein or one research question from your past research from your PhD and then continue it and turn it into a new project. Like your question, Malik, I think over the time, like when I was like doing my research, I started to realize like who I am really kind of shapes my research at the end of the day, right? And eventually I also realized like especially if you are doing ethnography, that really is very, very important, like who you are, what kind of questions you are asking, and also what kind of questions, what kind of responses you are getting. So positionality really is very, very important. It really kind of shapes your project. And I had a personal experience around it because when I was doing my fieldwork in Uttarakhand, for instance, so I am from the region. When I was like defending my proposal, for instance, I felt like, I will have like better access, a smooth access because I'm from the area, I know the language. But then when I entered the field, I realized like who I am, my name, my gender, all of that really matters in this research a lot. And that kind of really flipped things for me. And I think that really also like really changed my research questions. Eventually, my whole research for that matter, like how who we are really shapes pretty much everything around us, right? And So yeah, I mean, positionality is very, very important, especially if you are doing qualitative work. It informs your research. It also informs you as a person. And for me personally, I would say yes, it has who I am has shaped my scholarship. So yeah, Jay, you want to go
Yeah.
with that? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just add a couple of points. And when it comes to, then thinking about your postdoctoral research topic, and then again, like it depends where you're applying. So there are postdoctoral positions that would like you to further work on your PhD, like maybe turn it into a book manuscript uh, or maybe start a new project altogether. But the thing is, like when you're starting or thinking of new project, it should have, I think, of because you just have finished one major project of your life, as in you're not going to have 7 or 8 years again in your life to work on a single project. So you do not sort of like when you're thinking of new research, you do not abandon your PhD totally. So that's not a good thing. It should have uh, it should work as a foundational sort of like material, and then to think of a new direction that your that your postdoctoral research might provide it. So the same theme or area, but a new direction. So so even if you're thinking of new research or think it in this manner, uh, and again, like look for what the position wants you to do. And yeah, positionality matters a lot. As in, again, when I spoke about not feeling hesitant when you're trying to articulate your thoughts or talking to class, because you bring in a very unique perspective from your own positionality, your own experiences, and those things feed into or like seep into your research pretty much. And that is something, again, like it will take a lot of time, but again, very briefly, that has been shaping my the moment when I conceived when I decided to get into higher education, when I decided to work with indigenous community or tribal community in India, and again when I was writing my dissertation, when I had to think about my own sort of like place and position within that sort of like framework. So I revised and my the way I reinterpreted the field data, and also the way I reconceptualize my own findings. So it plays a constant role, and you should not suppress it. You should not think that, oh, you are deviating or diverging from like the dominant ways of looking at certain things. No, it's a unique perspective you're bringing into this field. So don't shy away from like bringing that in. So your positionality is your sort of like uh, contribution in this whatever field you're working in. So own it and be confident about it, I would say.
Yeah, thank you. So there is one more question. Jay is asking, as a PhD scholar currently pursuing doctoral studies in India with a co-supervisor based in the USA, which fellowship opportunity should I focus on to undertake research in the USA during my PhD?
So I would,
Uh,
oh, sorry,
Sorry.
go ahead.
I
Yeah.
think so. There is Fulbright, I think, that you should definitely check out. Fulbright is like for 9 months. It's exchange fellowship where you can come to institution, use the research, like use the resources, collab with somebody. So I think if you have a co-supervisor already based in the US, they can be your mentor for the Fulbright fellowship. So I think that would be a smart move. So check the details for Fulbright Fellowship and make them your mentors so that you could come here for like a year or like 9 to 10 months overall. That's there. And then that's what else? For And then also like maybe check with your like co-supervisor who's already here if they have department funding or if they have some kind of like research funding where they could like invite you as a visiting scholar for like couple of months and then you can come and do some kind of research here. That's also an opportunity. But again, that depends on like the institution, the department, if they have that kind of fund. So that's something. And what else? Yeah, I think that's something that's the only thing that comes to my mind right now. But yeah, if I come across to something else, I'll probably share. But yeah, the Fulbright is great. I think that's a good opportunity. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, or maybe ICSSR or
Mhm.
ICSH. Yeah, Jay, you want to speak? Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's when it comes to, as in, if you already are pursuing it and you can be here for 9 months on Fulbright while pursuing a PhD, and then you can come here and like then get to know about this place and academia and everything, and then think of whether you want to pursue postdoc, where, with whom. So that could be a great way to sort of like transition into from PhD to postdoctoral position. And also it
Yeah,
depends
but
a
I
lot on your
sorry.
discipline.
Mm.
So whether you are in social sciences or sciences, so I would
Mm.
strongly recommend you to get in touch with Rajesh because he would have more insights on that, like how to think about postdoc when you are doing a PhD in India. But for social sciences, definitely go for Fulbright while you're pursuing your PhD. And there's ICSSR also, right? As in they also have, yeah, okay, that will be useful.
Yeah, Jay has raised his hand.
Mhm.
So Jay, yeah, you want to elaborate your question?
I think he probably said thank you.
Okay.
I can add a little bit.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll add some few points. The
Yeah, go ahead.
Fulbright fellowships are only for 9 months, and if I was in my last year, then I'll apply for Fulbright. But currently, I'm in second year, so I'm not eligible to apply for a Fulbright fellowship. And currently, my supervisor have no project, so that's why I'm asking any other fellowships are available, so you can guide me.
Jay, what is your subject area, like discipline?
Political science and IR, and my research area is human security and health security.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I'm not 100% sure, but like also I would say like given you are in your second year of PhD, definitely keep like ICSSR or like Fulbright that you want to do eventually like in your fourth year, fifth year. But then I think as a scoping practice, I would say like apply for an international conference. That would be a nice gateway to like come here, explore the academia, connect with people. Because sometimes when you're here, like you would like get to know about opportunities which you would otherwise not know. So apply for international conference. I think ICSSR also funds partially for international conferences in India. And sometimes if you have international conference in the US, the organizations here, like the university or like the association would also like fund students partially. So like you can like, use that like two little pools of money to basically fund the whole conference thing. So yeah, as I think as in your second year, third year, conferencing is a great idea to connect and get to know about other opportunities. And then eventually, of course, like keep ICSSR, Fulbright on your radar. But yeah. So that's what I can think about right now. Yeah.
Yeah, IR has like the Chicago has like a huge conference in the about IR. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
check about it. Yeah, Bharat, you want to add
Yeah,
something?
just to respond to that question, we have two videos already uploaded on our YouTube channel about the postdoc series and what was another topic? Uh, yeah, postdoc
It's
and,
about
and
Fulbright.
and yeah, for applying for the fellowship and grant. So please check on our YouTube. You will find useful something there. And in future also, we will certainly do an entire series with people like Jay, Saddaf, and Rajesh. And yeah, please go ahead. Malik.
I wanted to add a perspective on what you should be doing in PhD and how should you prepare for a future postdoc position and so on. So some of these postdoc positions are you have to understand that where the money comes from and then what is their goal with these positions. And sometimes these professors apply for grant, they write proposal, and they have certain tasks that they have defined to achieve. Um, and they're looking for people with skills who can help them achieve those goals, right? So even if your area is not directly related to their area or their goals, you have to find a bridge, and that bridge is the skill, the transferable skill that you are developing during your PhD. The transferable skills, if I have to be very specific, it's like how to do literature review, how to define a problem, how to solve a problem, whether you are going to apply quantitative approach, qualitative approach, statistical analysis, or whatever comes to mind, right? So these are the skills that you develop during your PhD. Even writing the paper is one of the biggest skills. So what they're looking for is people who can help them, assist them accomplish that goals. Um, and also, you work with timeline, deadlines, and all of that. And these are the things probably you can bring in your application that they would probably like. Sometimes these fellowships are funded by agencies, nonprofits, and so on. Their goal is likely different, and you have to probably be more elaborate. You read those calls for job descriptions and so on, and then make sure that how do you fit into their own agenda. That's what I wanted to add. When you think about your postdoc should be related to your PhD, it's kind of not necessary. If it is connected, it's well and good. It is connected in the way that you have done quantitative analysis, so you're looking for quantitative postdocs. If you've done qualitative analysis, you're probably looking for that is what I wanted to add. And get your application reviewed. Connect with people. What Jay pointed out is that connect with people who have already done that thing, right? It might be the best thing. And LinkedIn is probably the best source. You start connecting with people where you want to be. You be very proactive in kind of connecting and searching for these positions. You have to work for 1 to 2 years to actually become sort of aware and eligible about these things. So if you're in second year, third year, it's probably a great time to start connecting with people who you think that this is the area that you want to expand. This is the positionality that I'm not a social scientist, so I'm not sure about those terms a lot. But then if you think that these are like-minded people who I would like to work with, connect with them, learn from them, um, you know, indirectly through their social media post and what they stands for and what they.
Yeah, I would like to add something on that. When you're looking for postdocs, particularly for instance, there are like forums, there are platforms which are sometimes very important. So generally, like in the US, we use like, HireEd, and there are a bunch of other like listservs. Basically, they send you uh, you know uh, openings based on your keywords, your areas every day or every week or something like that. But then Twitter, or like X, basically is also a great platform, because sometimes people would like directly post about a position over there, right there. And then also LinkedIn is also great. Sometimes you would like look or like find advertisements for jobs which you would not find in your conventional job listing serves, basically, right? So uh, look for different platforms where people are posting for jobs, looking for people, be it LinkedIn, be it Twitter or X, or your conventional listservs, basically. And because, and like also that kind of like, if you keep in track of all these different platforms, it also kind of give you a sense of what's in, what's hot, what kind of research people are doing, what kind of skill sets they're looking for. So you basically kind of broaden your perspective when you start like, looking at these different platforms. And then eventually you can also like tailor your applications based on that information, basically.
Yeah, we have one more question in chat. Preeti is saying, hello all. I have completed my PhD in gender studies in January. My work is on women, sex workers, health, emotional well-being, resilience, labor rights. Where shall I apply for postdoc?
Isn't it would be really difficult to pinpoint, isn't where particularly you should be applying? the first thing you do is, again, like that's, and of course, like there you might come across people who might tell you that, oh, this is the place where you should apply, but this is the first task when you are thinking about either applying for PhD or applying for postdoc. You have to, as other speakers have pointed out, like how you go through different platforms. You sort of like look up what is happening in my field. What are they researching? What are they like? And the words that are the terms, the concepts they are using that is sort of like pretty much being used nowadays or in vogue in nowadays. So you familiarize yourself with what is going on, for instance, in this particular area on gender studies and how sort of like, and how on sex workers and their health and emotional well-being. And there are a lot of interesting work that have been done and is being done. So start from there, and then while you're following different scholars and different as in academicians who are working on this area, you would also come to know uh, the places where they might have a position for a postdoctoral as a researcher. So rather than looking for a postdoctoral position where you can apply particularly for this theme, look for scholars who are working on this area. And if there is a university where those scholars are working and that university has this postdoctoral position, so before applying, reach out to those scholars and say that like I'm interested in applying for this postdoctoral position because my research is this, and since you work already on this area, I wanted to pursue this and further work with you while I'm a postdoctoral fellow there. So it builds a connection already before you apply. So the person, if interested, will not only assist you in sort of like refining and improving your application, but also you will have a person who would vouch for your application, who would sort of like, put a weight in favor of your application. So I would recommend start with that, as in, look for people who are working on the same area, and then figure out like where should you apply.
Do you want to add anything, Sadaf, or you can just go ahead?
I think that's what I was thinking, that yeah, identify people who are working on the same area, and then don't feel shy, but then like create a nice email, introductory email sort of a thing, and then send it out to them. Sometimes people take time, but then they do reply back. At least out of 10, say 6 to 7 people reply. So do that, don't feel shy. And then, once, like, maybe somebody is not directly like interested, but then they would like direct you to something else, that, I know someone, or I know this institution where there is a position, or they work on this XYZ thing. So maybe you would want to like reach out to them. You can also use my reference, those kind of stuff. So, sometimes connections kind of built like that. But generally, I think with this kind of a topic, like all postdoc fellowships, which focus on like, marginalization, gender, identities, bodies, those kind of things, you can apply for those social science-based postdocs pretty much, I think. Uh, be it the one at Kasi at UPenn, be it the one at Chicago under Caste, for instance, or the Brandeis one, or the one at Harvard, the Raghunathan Fellowship. And yeah, so like it just depends on like how you want to like articulate this project for that particular postdoc position, basically. It all depends also on that. So you can apply for pretty much all the social science based postdocs, open ones at least, yeah.
I just have to add, if allowed by the
Yeah,
moderator.
please add, Rajesh.
So Anurag and Preeti said that they have reached out to people, but it's very difficult to connect with people and message or communicate with them on LinkedIn. So you have to be very strategic about it. It's not like let's go you to go to a conference, there are 100, 200 people, and you just don't go and directly talk to someone. Maybe you have attended their presentation, you have observed something, and then maybe go start chatting about their presentation, their thing. Very similarly, LinkedIn is a virtual space. First of all, you have to make your profile elegant. Put a proper picture. There's a lot of fake profiles out there on LinkedIn. People don't like to connect with people who they don't trust or who they don't rely upon, like who are not. So if I see a connection, I have to go and check that who this person is, and if there is no photo or there is no educational, list of educational, degrees or background or something like that. So it feels like, so why should I connect or something? And if you cold messaging someone, a lot of times I get messages and it has nothing to do with my research. They say you're working in applied machine learning. So I want to work in applied. I'm working in blockchain, so I think our interests align. It doesn't align. So it feels like you did not even make an attempt to read what I'm doing, or so I need that. And I have responded to so many messages on LinkedIn if they were somehow connected, even irrelevant ones, that please read these papers and then see which particular paper would you like to extend or which idea would you like to work on and something like that. So be very specific. I think it happens and it's like a frog boiling. It has to take time. You go follow them. If they are sharing something, read them and then probably share, comment, like, and sometimes your comment will, I have gotten probably more than 1,000 connections just because I comment on people's people's ideas or posts sometime. Like, okay, this is people have quoted because of that. So you have to be very proactively reading and then somehow offering something, bringing something to the table, to the conversation. If you're not adding anything to their life, they are not going to care about you or your request. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I think Rajesh made a very sort of like an important point on how to be strategic when it comes to reaching out to people. And I know Preeti and Anurag have pointed out like how it's they do not respond. I know it's very discouraging. It again like sort of like feel like, oh, they do not give any sort of like any credit or respect to your existence or your ideas or your research, and it feels belittling a little bit. But also think about the fact that, for instance, Rajesh, who is teaching here for last 4 years, who has been receiving a lot of messages, texts, and despite also teaching multiple classes in the week and having other administrative responsibilities. So in academia, you also do a lot of non-paid sort of like jobs, and that includes as in advising or mentoring your own students, then being part of any panel or any sort of like committee, and then serving on this or that panels. So people are very busy, and then they also have to sort of like take time out to respond to different emails and texts. So don't get discouraged, keep trying, and also be strategic, as Rajesh pointed out. Like, you have to really come out as someone like who is coming with unique idea, and one of the ways to do is like be sort of like vigilant on what is going on in your field, and which direction it is going into, and how you can sort of like bring something new to it. So, and keep trying. And I know it's discouraging and disheartening, but there is no other way out.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to connect with all 100 people you send requests to, even 30 of them. If you touch properly, there will be enough, more than enough.
Okay, yeah.
We have to conclude now. Sorry.
Oh,
You
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. I'm just asking. Do you have like any final remarks, Jay, Saddaf, if you want to make from this conversation, and then we will conclude the session. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would like to this extend any kind of support that I could provide to anyone basically, that if you want me to read your material, if you want to chat about something, if you are applying for a PhD or a postdoc, uh, or generally if you are already here, if you want to talk about something, if you want to share experience, XYZ, anything, please reach out. uh, uh, I can put my email here, my or you can also connect with me on socials, because I think networking is very important, and a lot of things really happen when you connect with the right people. So, and also as a scholar who believes in social justice and who supports solidarity in any shape and form, I would like to extend that yes, I'm here if anyone needs any kind of help, suggestions, recommendations, anything that I could basically offer. So yeah.
Yeah, and the same goes with me. As in, if you need any sort of like help or assistance, or we want to discuss, anything related to uh, doctoral or postdoctoral application, or in general, like academic life, feel free to reach out. And Bharat has my contact. And uh, yeah, as in believe in yourself. As in there will be moments when you will doubt yourself. That is pretty natural. Just know that it's natural to doubt yourself, to have these kind of moments when you think that you are not a good fit, you do not belong. It's pretty normal. But the thing is, like, the thing that you should keep in mind at the same point is you bring a unique perspective to this space, and you should own it, and you should be confident because of that fact, and just speak your mind out without holding yourself back, thinking that, oh, there's an ideal way of as in talking, speaking, or whatever, like behaving or being in an academic world. So yeah, that's all that I wanted to highlight.
Okay, so yeah, thank you so much, Joy, Sadaf, for like taking out like time and this like the response you did like from different kinds of questions from the chat. And so yeah, and Rajesh, I also want to thank you. You also like put your remarks and like different questions, so thank you so much. And yeah, thank you so much to all the participants, and for like joining and discussing, talking about your queries. And we like mostly Bahujan scholars do like this kind of event every other Sunday, right, Bharat? And so yeah, join us and spread the word to like other events, to the people you, if you think that. And if you have like any kind of special request, like do this kind of you, if you want to like your particular like disciplines Zoom call or something, then also like possible. So yeah, thank you so much, and thank you, Bharat, for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah,
Oh
thank
yeah, Rajesh also mentioned that feel free to connect the reach out. Yeah, the stem. So yeah,
yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I posted the link, feedback link. Please give your feedback so we can improve our programs and organize this kind of a webinar series. And once again, thank you, Malik. Thank you, Sadaf. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Rajesh. And really, I greatly appreciate your support. And we will meet again in this kind of another series. Thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you,
thank
Bharat.
you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.